What is happening, everybody? I hope you're all well, and welcome on back to Tainted Grail, the Fall of Avalon. So, in between episodes, I did do some crafting here. We changed up our aesthetic a little bit, changed up our armor set a little bit. I went through our crafting schematics, and I saw that we had this two-piece Revenant gear set. So the set-piece bonus for the Revenant's ribcage is increased melee damage by 20%, which is kind of absurd. And then increased weak spot damage by 20%, which is also cool. I think weak spots are like you hit a human in the head, etc. So that has 7 armor, and comparatively, our big hefty weight dual knight only had 10. We sacrificed 3 armor for that. This one here is, we actually need to work on this, but it looks cool, so I kept using it regardless. But it's again, same thing, we have an increased melee damage by 10% and an increased weak spot damage by 10%, and it's only, I think the helmet for the dual knight is also 5. We don't sacrifice any armor once we have the perception to use it, and because we changed up our gear, we are now under the threshold for quick dashes, which meant I could take off our ring of encumbrance finally, so now I'm using blood ring, which is each hit applies bleed. And I was considering maybe switching up our weapons, but I probably won't do that yet, because I'm enjoying the sword and shield, and I think this all aesthetically comes together quite nicely. But in the future, we might be looking at another respec. I might change up my weapons, we'll have to see. I'll have to see what I find along the journey. If I find some cool stuff that I want to use, I'll probably switch it up. Although I will be honest, I will probably only switch things up like that if we run into something dual wield wise. But with the majority of this playthrough, it'll probably be sword and board or dual wield. I probably won't change much else. Okay, that's what's clipping, it's the cloak. Well, and this piece too, but I was just curious what was clipping those all. Yeah, it'll either be dual wield, so like dual longswords, maybe dual daggers, maybe, or sword and shield. Or, well, any one-handed weapon, actually. There was something else that we got. There's, this swift dagger that's 25% increased melee damage after dashing, but that's only going to be good with dual wield because it doesn't do that much damage by itself. We also need to level up for that too, and we did get in our journey, so I'm going to take damage from that, but it doesn't matter. Where are we? Take this. This I'm kind of interested in too, which is Ravencrest Executioner. And this one does way more damage than what we are currently doing, as you can see, and attacks against targets at full health are always critical, and it ignores enemy block. So that's spicy. We also need 3 perception for this too, unfortunately, but again, it could be interesting. We also have Galahad's mace, but that's a 2-handed weapon, so probably won't care too much about this. We also need spirituality, which I have no intention of ever specking into, just to be blunt. But Ravencrest Executioner seems like it could be interesting. We also have our honorary blade all the way up at +2, and Ravencrest Executioner still just outclasses it. So we might actually switch to that sooner rather than later, but we need a couple levels to get the, what is it, practicality, I think that said? Oh, perception, sorry. So, and then for this, it's perception 2. Okay, so yeah, maybe we will, because they have the same requirements, so if we get 3 perception, theoretically, we could use those as a dual wield combo. And what do you need? You need 5 perception. Okay. So we're starting to cook a little bit. Perception might be a good idea. Anyways, now that the long-winded gear catch-up is out of the way, let's head inside this fort and see if he's going to tell us how to yank Excalibur, finally. He does always one. We've given him everything he wanted and more, so I expect him to hold up his end of the bargain, or honestly, this fortress might get redecorated. It's back here now. Have I been in here to loot before? I'm actually not sure. Keeper's gear. Potato. Reinforced, that's empty. Okay. I always talk to the man. You have a weird stone in there. You owe me something, friend. I've done everything you asked of me. My turn.
An honest matter. What do you need?
I'm here for Excalibur.
Ah, right. See, the problem with Excalibur, or indeed any of King Arthur's blades, is that you need to prove you're worthy of wielding it. How are you supposed to do that? Hell knows. But if the pin that secured your entry to the horns has led you here, I think I know what the one who gave it to you might have been thinking.
What do you mean?
You see, there are many different legends. According to one of them, there are a few places on Avalon where you can prove yourself worthy, whatever that means. And one of those places, as you can probably guess, is nearby.
Would make
Have you
sense.
seen the old Gong in the sunken village? Well, many years ago, when people still went to the woods for a shit instead of using a privy, it was part of a certain ritual. Only the people who passed the ritual could become keepers.
And what does this ritual involve?
Eh? None of the living keepers were recruited that way, so we don't really know what happens during the ritual. That's why Galahad now appoints keepers and the captain chooses them. It's just safer that way. I only know that you need to sound the gong and then lie down to sleep at its base. If you wake up, I mean, when you wake up again in the morning,
If and when, huh?
no, you've been deemed worthy. Unfortunately, the gong is broken. So first, you'll need to find a way to fix it. And since it's made of weird steel, that's not going to be easy, is it? Fortunately, Oshbrit should be able to help you. A little bird told me he likes to play with weird steel when nobody's looking. Just tell him I sent you, and he won't give you any trouble.
You know all about that, huh? What if it doesn't work?
Then you'll have to find someone smarter than me. Because I already told you everything I know.
If all of those recruits were worthy, why did none of them try wielding Excalibur?
Well, of course they tried. It turns out that the keepers who passed the ritual could hold it longer than anyone else. Maybe it'll be enough for what you need, and maybe something entirely different will happen. It's your risk and your decision.
So what did you mean by if I wake up?
Well, I'm not going to lie. From what I've heard, many people never woke up. They fell into eternal slumber, so that's why we abandoned the tradition. And those who woke up were changed, and none of them ever wanted to say exactly what happened there. Go, and may the southern wind be in your favor. If you need anything from the old captain, you know where to find me.
I really do not like that guy. I think that goes without saying. Oshbrit might know how to fix this thing. Okay. Well, it looks like the dialogue we could ask him about becoming a keeper would have also led us to the Gong. Of course, we already picked up the Gong because we already checked out that sunken village, so we really just need to repair it. I wonder if you already have the weird steel we need for that.
It's nice to have a break.
There's an ancient Gong in the sunken village. Can you fix it?
Why would you want to fix it? Do you even know what it is? Take some advice from an old man. If there's a giant, ancient statue that somebody tried to turn to dust, they must have had a good reason for it.
We need to repair it to become a keeper.
Well, if you put it that way, then I suppose I have to tell you the truth. Otherwise, the terror from the sea will bite me in the ass while I bathe. Of course I can fix it. I've been doing this kind of thing since I could swing a hammer. It's a skill we pass down from master to apprentice, generation to generation. Nothing fancy, just good old blacksmithing.
Just need fancy
Obviously,
materials.
You'd have to bring me a couple
Yeah.
things so that I can actually do it.
I already have what you need.
How did you, Oh, forget it. I don't even want to know. Just give me a moment.
We've been here a long time, friend.
Here. That should do it. Do whatever you need to, if you're really sure about this. But please try to come back alive.
I'll definitely do my best. Is there anything I should know?
I have nothing to tell you. I could try to talk you out of it, but I'm guessing that wouldn't work.
Oh, man. Alright, that cost us pretty penny in terms of our ethereal cobwebs, but worth it in the end. So we can just fast travel straight down to that, and it's a straight shot. Now, we did have... I mentioned many episodes ago that when we first went there to pick up that broken gong during our exploration, we found somebody from the island asylum was already there. He was just hanging out by the gong, and now I'm very curious to see if he's still hanging out there. Does that cliff face look like we should go up there and find a chest to anybody else? Because this looks dramatically placed, like, to run up. Like, very intentionally. Is this just happenstance? There's no way it's just coincidence, right? It is. That's unfortunate. Well, I would be thinking about that all night if I didn't try, so we'll take it. Yeah, I wonder if the man is still there, or if he's gone. He was just hanging out up there. He wasn't sleeping. He was just hanging out with the broken gong, and that's what led us into our conversation with King Arthur. He said that the gong was there, but he couldn't remember why. I guess, let's go find out what this ritual is all about. Since it involves so much ethereal cobweb and things to do with the weird, I'm sure we're gonna get teleported off. Especially with them talking about how it sends you to sleep and things like that. I wish the first-person camera was just a teensy bit higher while you were swimming. That's such a minor complaint, but I do wish it was a thing. And our friend is not here anymore. There it is. Oh boy. You know, ironically, we were just playing Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and our main character in that game was talking about a time that he got swallowed by a snake, so... And then, here we are, we come on over here and get swallowed by a snake. Look at this place. I saw people criticizing the graphics and aesthetics of this game, but you gotta be shitting me if you don't think this looks good. I don't know what you're looking at. If you look at this and think that it looks ugly, I don't know what you're seeing. But you're not seeing the same thing I am. I don't know if I can actually just walk over those branches, so I'm gonna jump those just to be safe.
Who dares disturb my peace? You made an oath never to summon me again.
Are you a four-dweller? Forgive me, my lord. I want to be deemed worthy to touch Excalibur.
Excalibur? Wait. Is it really you? You, who come from a time beyond. Show yourself before me.
Do I know you?
It seems he speaks to me. Allow me to answer him.
Welcome, old friend.
I can see that you know me, but I am a mere shadow of my true self. I don't remember you, Lord of the Seas. Forgive me.
That's what you told me, my friend. The next time we see each other, you will not remember me. But you are here now. The will and the power led you back to this place. Even in this incomplete form.
Where should I look for myself? I wish to restore Avalon to its former glory, yet I don't know how.
Avalon's fate has never rested upon one person alone, not even one as great as King Arthur. Yet here you are, trying again, restless and eager to take the responsibility again. I salute you, my friend.
Tell me what I must do to be worthy to lead Avalon once more. I do not think I have the strength.
Your path is true. Seek wholeness, and Avalon will reveal what it needs from you. And yes, you need to touch Excalibur.
Thank you, my friend.
And you, mortal. You given yourself to the king's service. You are worthy of a place among the keepers of the South. Arthur, take out your sword and fear no failure. It is yours to take. It always was. I deem you worthy, my friend. The promise I gave thy mother is fulfilled, and thus our pact is ended. You know where to look for your soul. Trust yourself. And when you reach your journey's end, I trust you will make the right choice.
He made a pact with Arthur's mother. Things are getting deep here. Whispers. Too close to water, huh? Okay, let's get back to the beach then, and then we'll talk to Arthur about what just went down there. See if he remembers anything about any of that. I'm curious about the made a pact with his mother portion of that. What pact? And I'm not surprised that every keeper that ever saw that didn't know what to make of it. You and the Lord of the Seas, you seemed close.
Yes, it seems we knew each other well during the war. And this proves that I sought allies beyond our own forces. And I trusted him enough to carry the knowledge of Excalibur. This must count for something.
Actually, I'm going to fuel our bonfire real quick because we found an unidentified item. New items, a dull broadsword +3 and a wolf pelt. Well, that's a little disappointing. Alas. Let us go back and yoink out Excalibur then. Or at least touch it. Are we gonna get Excalibur as a weapon? There's no way, right? Maybe we'll just absorb it and we'll be able to use new powers for Excalibur, but there's no shot we get to use it. It's huge. Like unwieldy huge. Save up before we touch anything to do with this. Oh. Okay. So what, we heal stack maybe? Heal stack. There we go. Didn't realize we were missing a little bit of health. Here we are back in this place.
I am his will, the fire that bends the world to his command. I am the blade that shapes kings and shatters tyrants. He was the fire that forged order from chaos. He was the hand that lifted kingdoms, the will that carved a path through darkness.
Enough, Merlin. You can't keep throwing lives into this abyss. These experiments, they're destroying what remains of us.
Destroying us? They're what's keeping us alive. Do you think the Four Dwellers will stop for pity or mercy? Every soul we lose here saves 10 more on the battlefield. You told me to do this. You sanctioned this. And I'm close to getting it right. I know it.
No, we can't justify this. There's no victory worth such a cost.
You know full well, Arthur, that this isn't about victory. It's about survival. If we don't push these boundaries, there will be no future for your kingdom. For Avalon. You dream of peace, but without victory, there will be no peace to dream of. The path ahead is brutal, but if we relent now, we lose everything.
And yet we keep losing people and gaining nothing in return. We must change the path.
They volunteered for this.
They volunteered to save our kingdom, and you've gotten no closer to doing it. Their sacrifices cannot be in vain, Merlin. Find another way. Use your mind, your wisdom. Leave this slaughterhouse you've created behind.
A different way. That will take time. And resources we may not have. The enemy won't wait.
They will if I make them. Whatever it takes, I will buy you that time. Find me a weapon that wins this war without annihilating what we fight to protect.
Whatever it takes.
Yes. Let it be known that it was my decision, and I will bear the consequences of it.
Oh no, my king. People can never know. It was all my idea, and you knew nothing about it. All of us have our role to play. You are the leader, and they need to love you. If we win, you need to become more than a man. You need to become a symbol.
So, King Arthur did do the right thing in the end. He realized what was going on with Merlin and his experiments, and he put a stop to it. That's kind of what I figured when I was talking to the guy in Seawall's tomb, when I was talking to Seawall First Foot. I figured that Merlin would have been way more behind that. I mean, it does seem like he signed on to it. Desperate times in war, right? But it looks like he did the right thing in the end. Whether Merlin chose to listen or not remains to be seen, but... You have gathered a new fragment of Arthur's soul, unlocking its hidden potential. Open the menu to explore the King's Soul skill tree, or visit a bonfire to develop new abilities. Memory Shards 1. King's Soul. When using King's Soul, you receive 50% less damage. When using King's Soul, your damage increases by 50% for each enemy killed. Killing enemies restores a portion of King's Soul. Finishes restore 400% more. When using King's Soul, you deflect all incoming projectiles. If King's Soul is fully charged, automatically use it when you would receive lethal damage. Dealing damage has a small chance to create a weird essence, which can be collected to regenerate a portion of King's Soul. What do you remember about Merlin?
Merlin saw Avalon for what it was long before the rest of us. He told me that Tintagel wouldn't hold, not forever. That the Wyrdness would gnaw at our walls, at our minds, at our very bones, until nothing human remained. But he still fought to map a way forward, to carve some sense into this land. And in the end, the land swallowed him whole anyway.
How did he die?
We were losing the battle at Tuathan's mouth. Our last push before the Wyrdness took the field. Merlin was with us, bleeding, exhausted, but still weaving his spells. Then it came. Not a beast, not a man, not something we ever had words for. A shadow wearing 1,000 torn banners, moving like it had no shape of its own. Merlin raised his staff, spoke a name I didn't recognize. And then he was gone. Not killed, not struck down, just gone. Like the land itself had taken him back.
That's an interesting way that Merlin ended. Okay. So... this just seems like backup plans. Damage increases by 50 for each enemy killed. Receiving 50% less damage could be cool. This will maybe... this will let us get it back faster. But let's focus on getting it back faster first. And then we can mess with the side parts of it, right? So this is King Arthur inside here. I think. I don't even know anymore, man. That might not even be the case. But we got plenty of pieces of his soul now. There's one right there. And then one right there. So we only need 2 more fragments of his soul before he's back up on his feet proper.
Now, I remember.
So you knew all about it.
Before you judge me, it all seems so obvious now, doesn't it? The right thing to do. It wasn't back then, and you can trust me on that. We were on the brink of losing the war, and wars aren't won with wishful thinking. There was no clean path, no noble answer. Only the weight of reality pressing down on our necks. Something had to be done, or everything we fought for would have been in vain. And in the end, the ones who stepped forward, who chose to pay the price, made it possible. And their deaths gave Merlin the knowledge he needed to finish his work. To find something that could really turn the tide in our favor.
You know, he says that there was no noble answer, but in the end it sounded like he did come up with one, because he told him to stop. He said he would buy him time to figure out an alternative to slaughtering his own people. So King Arthur was correct then. Desperate times call for desperate measures. He brought the entirety of humanity to Avalon, right? They fell right there, that's it. That's the end. He made a misguided choice that he then corrected. But let's press him on this. Let's see if I'm right about it. You really think that experimenting on your men was justified?
Justified? No. Justification is for those who have the luxury of doubt. And I had a kingdom to save. They were brave men who volunteered their lives, just as they did every time we rode onto the battlefield. The difference was that if Merlin succeeded, one man's sacrifice could have saved us all. Could have ended the war before more blood was spilled. If sacrificing a few meant the survival of all, then there was no choice at all. Maybe they never saw justice. Maybe their real stories were erased from history. Call it cruelty. Call it madness. But if I'd done nothing, there would be no Avalon left to argue over. But the kingdom still stands. The people live. And that has to mean something.
I actually agree. The problem is when you start down such a dark path like that. I've talked about this in some of my other Let's Plays, but once you do a certain action, everything you do after that becomes easier and easier to do because it can't all be for nothing. Once you sacrifice that first piece of your honor or your morality or your judgment, then every single thing you do after that will be to exonerate yourself from that decision. So if you kill an innocent and then you run into another situation, you can't stop now. You have to press on no matter what, because you can't let yourself have killed that innocent for nothing. You have to make it mean something and justify it with your actions going forward. And that continues and continues and continues. And every time you will lose a little piece of yourself. And then most of the time when that happens, they don't have a moment of self-reflection like he did in that cutscene with Arthur. Oh, sorry, the cutscene with Merlin. A lot of times people will just continue down that path until it kills them. Or until they eventually fall when they realize the ill of their ways. Like, he had to keep going after that because otherwise he sacrificed his honor and he ruined the morality of the thing for nothing. But he still turned on that and told Merlin to stop and said he would buy him time no matter what it took. You agreed to lie to your people about your role in all this.
I did. But this wasn't about pride. It wasn't about saving face. It was about survival. The truth about all this would have broken my people. I couldn't allow that. And a king doesn't get to flinch. If that meant carrying the weight alone, so be it. I would make that choice again if I had to.
I respect the hell out of that answer. So what did he come up with to win the war?
I told him to stop the experiments on our men, but to keep going. And he did. He started experimenting on the Four Dwellers, the enemy. If their bodies could be broken down, their power turned against them, wasn't that their own doing? Wasn't that fair? So he figured out how to twist the Four Dwellers' power into something we could wield. I told him to conquer the Wyrdness. And in the end, he did.
What?
He found a way to make me stronger. Stronger than any man had the right to be. It wasn't just magic. It was something deeper, older. A force that reshaped me. And with it, we won. The war ended. Avalon was ours. The bloodshed stopped. The banners were raised, and the kingdom stood safe.
Does victory erase the price you paid for it?
That's the question, isn't it? I keep thinking about Seawall. He was ready to pay the ultimate price for what we were fighting for. And I thought he did. I grieved him. Told myself his sacrifice had meaning, that he had given his life for Avalon. And now, after all these years, finding him like this, I told myself I carried the weight of my choices. But seeing him, I wonder if I ever truly did.
God, I love this game. The conversations with Arthur are literally my favorite part of the whole game so far. That aspect of this game is incredible. Why did you leave Excalibur at the Horns of the South?
It was supposed to be a reminder. The sword was never just steel. It was a symbol of what we stood for. Strength, justice, the will to carve a path forward. A weapon, yes, but also a promise. I wanted them to remember, to fight for those ideals, to uphold them, even when I was gone, even when there was no king left to lead them.
Yeah, his character is fire. Those interactions with him are incredible. Give me more.
You've got that look again. Like you've seen something you wish you hadn't. Another piece of the king's soul reclaimed, right? What did it show you this time?
Merlin and Arthur talking about ancient experiments.
Merlin. Merlin and his obsession with the Wyrdness. The king thought it could save us. Merlin thought it could be controlled. Together, they were willing to tear the world apart to win.
You know more than you're letting on. Can you start making sense?
I was a prototype for Merlin's latest idea. Immortality. Me and Sewell, the king's loyal pawns. Used and discarded when they found a better way. When they decided to go even deeper into their madness and turn our king into a monster.
Did Arthur know what was happening?
Even if he didn't, he should have. He was desperate to win. And desperation doesn't leave room for conscience. Every scream, every scar. Even if he didn't see it, he allowed it. That's as good as approving it.
You didn't end like Sewell.
Sewell was Merlin's first attempt. I was the last. We could say I was lucky. But to say that would take a truly macabre sense of humor, don't you think?
Why didn't you fight back?
Fight back? Against who? Merlin? The king? You don't fight gods when you're just a pawn on their board. You endure. You wait. And when the time comes, you either break, or you're left to clean up their mess. That's what I do. What I've always done.
What do you mean, clean up their mess?
The monsters, the Wyrdness, the chaos. All of it leads back to them. We're left in the ruins of their grand plans, trying to uphold their ideals, fighting for what never was. It's time to bury all these fairy tales in a well-deserved grave. And that's what I do.
I spoke with Arthur. He said he had to do it, or humanity would be lost.
Of course he'd say that. There's always a scapegoat and a convenient excuse for men like him. But it doesn't absolve him. Not when he was the one who unleashed this madness on all of us.
For what it's worth, he doesn't sound like he thinks it absolves
No
him.
matter the cost. And when you want something that badly, you stop looking too closely at what's being done in your name. And, after all, who said we were supposed to win this war? Who said we were supposed to survive?
Okay, you gonna lose me with the nihilistic shit like that. I think all the families and the children and the fathers and husbands and wives and daughters and sisters and brothers that are all happy and living life and making the best out of all this would vastly disagree with your stance on maybe we should have all just died. That's like the same kind of argument of like, oh, humanity. Parasites on the earth, we should all just give it back to the deers and the wild pigs and just all smoke ourselves. Like, no. I don't follow that line of logic much at all. I assume you still want something from me.
You've seen what they did, what he did. And that's not the end of the story. It's not the extent of their sins. Find the pieces of his soul. Put him back together, if that's what it takes. And then we, or I alone, if you decide to defy me, can end the cycle. Either way, we will get to his resurrection. I've seen it too many times to believe the cycle will be broken before it happens. But know this, once he's whole, Arthur's power, his mistakes, and his madness will all return. And when that moment comes, I'll be there. Whether to stand with you or step over you. The choice is yours. Just remember that when that happens, and you stand by his side, there won't be room for both of you.
If I'm going to fix this, I need to know where to start.
Start? You've already started. But if you want the next piece, head to Connacht. The menhir there is failing, the Wyrdness swallowing what's left of the village. You will need to find another artifact. The shield our king gave to Palamedes. He was one of the king's finest, a voice of reason amidst the madness. But it didn't save him or his legacy from what they had coming. Find the shield, and then, well, we will meet again. We'll see if your perspective changes.
Well, Excalibur stayed put. Yeah, for all that's going on here in the background of things, I don't think... I mean, he's talking about Arthur's madness coming back, so the King Arthur we have with us, if Caradoc is to be believed, is pre-madness and everything that went wrong. And when we put him back together, that's when that madness will take over again. And so... it's hard to make a decision on Arthur's character based on what he's saying is not the actual Arthur that will be in front of us when the time comes. But who knows if that's even true, right? I certainly don't. I stole these by accident while I was crafting. I'll just put that away. I don't want to carry stolen gear around with me. But Arthur, as he is, doesn't seem like he condones or absolves himself of anything. It seems more to me like... he just thinks it was necessary, which there's a lot that goes into that, right? And I already talked about some of that. It's not as simple as, well, he shouldn't have done it and we should have all died, because that's, like I said, that kind of nihilism, it's not gonna fly with me. I don't believe in that shit. You lose me instantly when you start talking like that, because there are people in the real world who think that, man, and I just look at them like they're insane, to be honest. The whole, like, death cult, nihilistic... well, we shouldn't be on this earth. It's not natural. We should give it back to the deer. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I think when you look around at the world, even as fucked up as it is sometimes, and even though there's conflict and disagreements and all the messed up shit that happens in the world, and even though it's finite, right? There's still all those little moments of happiness and joy and connection and beauty, art, expression, consciousness, all that stuff, and all that is worth paying a price for. In my opinion, I think all that is quite easily worth paying a price for, actually. And I do want to go back and talk to the captain before we wrap this episode up, so let me go back and talk to him. And now, a will to win is we should head back to Connacht. Oh, sorry, I should head to Connacht and find the Shield of Palamedes. So we're going to a new act, I assume. Murder on demand. Lucilian and Manson from Camelot is paying bounties for each slain bandit. Well, I already did plenty of that. I assume the misc quests are the ones that just continue to go. Yeah, I'm curious if the captain here will have any remarks now that we technically became a keeper. Wonder if he has anything to say for himself about all that. Well, he has a lot to say. I'm done with the ritual. You said I can become a keeper now.
You actually went through with it, huh? I can't say I understand why anyone would willingly take on that mess. But if that's what you want, Who am I to argue? Now, as tradition dictates, you have to kneel, and I have to recite some words. In shadows and mud we slog. In burden and boredom we suffer. We guard the clueless, fix the hopeless, and carry the weight because nobody else bloody will. We're the lantern running out of oil.
I think he's
No one bothers to look at. The rope
I think he's
that
freestyling this a
stops when you
little.
need it most. The hands that shield, mostly from our own bad decisions. By this joke of tradition, you are bound. By this nonsense, you are trapped. There, you're a keeper now. You can pick up your meals from work at 6 a.m. We start training at 7 a.m. I'm joking. I know you won't stay here, but if you're up for some work, let me know.
What kind of work?
Well, while we've been bickering about politics and playing at diplomacy, the bandits and every other kind of scum have been crawling out of the woodwork. Turns out chaos is a great breeding ground for parasites. I'd greatly appreciate it if you helped clean them out so we can get back the terrain we've lost.
Store and order the gallows. Store and order Little Grove. Store and order the King's Road. Merchant Ruins. As far as I'm aware, I already cleaned out all of these places. 0. Okay, so I'll probably go do this stuff off camera then. That seems like a great place to wrap up actually, and I'll go take care of these quests before we head on into Kunacht. So thank you for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a like and a comment. If you want to support the cause and help improve the channel, please do check out those links in the description below. Otherwise, stay tuned, and I'll see you soon with more Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Peace.